Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think spreadsheets were just part of it. Ugh. But real-time cash flow? Wow. Invoices that chase themselves? Even better. Books that automate? That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No spreadsheet in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search Xero for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them. That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Magic, the tech podcast, where we talk about innovation, gaming, AI, spatial computing, and everything in between. I am joined by my co-host, Lee Kebler. Lee, how you doing? Did you miss me last week?
Yes, and it still doesn't look like you're quite back.
Not quite. I was home for like 2 days. So for folks that are just catching up, maybe, I was on safari for 10 days in South Africa. Life-changing experience. Obviously, I didn't record the podcast because I was out in the bush, in the wilderness, seeing lots of animals. I wasn't going to record over there. Best experience of my life. I went with my 2 best friends. We had a fantastic experience. I mean, South Africa is just gorgeous. We enjoyed both Kruger National Park, seeing all the animals. We also spent time in Cape Town, went to wine country, which is I'm a big wine person. Just overall, hard to be back in reality. So I was home for 2 days, and now I'm in New York because I have my new book, Spatial Computing and AI-Driven Business Revolution, coming out on the 14th. This goes live on the 15th. So pre-order the book. You can go to spatialcomputingbook.com. I have a big launch event tomorrow at NASDAQ. So huge day.
Huge.
Huge day.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Give a little bit of synopsis on the book here.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the whole premise of the book is that we arrive at this moment of convergence because most of the books out there that you're seeing are generative AI focused. This is really looking at everything that's happened in the AI space and where spatial computing is taking us. So that convergence of all these different technologies coming together to create the next iteration of computing, the next iteration of the internet, so the spatial web, aka metaverse, and then spatial computing, moving away from personal computing to mobile computing to spatial computing. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today on the podcast that is completely relevant to the book. But the book really is for everyone interested in getting a better understanding, overall view of how computing is changing, what AI has to do, why we arrive at this moment, and what's coming. Like, why are we getting all this new hardware? Why are we getting all this new vision inside all these software platforms? So it's a good book. I wrote it with Irina Cronin, who's brilliant. I brought more of the spatial computing. She brought more of the AI. So it was a perfect combination.
It's incredible timing, like just absolutely ridiculously stupid, incredible timing.
We timed it. I mean, getting this book done, we wrote this book in like record timely. I'll tell you that.
Yes. Yeah. No, I know. I remember when you started writing the book, you did. You wrote it in record time. It's just wild. There's no way you knew all of the announcements happening this week and next week to like time the book release this perfectly. But yet here you are.
We knew a few things. I'm not going to say we were completely naive or walking blind, but you hear things, things.
Absolutely bonkers timing. Because it is a time where there's going to be a lot of books about like the AI space, but it's going to be after the upcoming year, right? Like it's going to be old by that point. But like this is such an incredibly time specific topic for people to jump into, especially with like the announcements that we're going to talk about today. So yeah.
There's a whole section like for the AI people that are really interested in understanding, like diving deep into AI and the different components. And then obviously diving deep into what does this moment have to do with spatial computing? Like, what is spatial computing? What does it have to do? So yeah, we have a whole section on the AI revolution transforming today's business where we go deep into Gen AI, but also computer vision, which is what I find really sexy. So yeah, I mean, we dive deep into a lot of AI in this book. Brian Solis, who many of the people listening to this know Brian. Brian wrote the foreword. He obviously is very much in the AI space right now as well. So I'm excited. Being honest, I'm already getting a lot of interest in talks, as I told you, because I feel like people at this point, people know ChatGPT. We're going to get into that too, but they know Gen AI. They want to better understand, like, what does this really mean when the context of where things are going and the new hardware and all that. So yeah, exciting times ahead.
That's incredible. Yeah. I'm not going to say I didn't have an exciting week. I did. Yours is probably a little bit more exciting than mine. We got all the way up into northern Washington. I learned something about my phone that was super impressive. I have an iPhone. That does not mean I like my iPhone. I'm pretty vocal about like being frustrated with certain aspects of my phone. I'm tired of people making technology that's just too dang slippery. That's my old man rant for the day, is just like, these iPhones are too slippery. I hate it. But the camera, I'm not a photo guy. I don't take a lot of photos. It's just not my thing. It took me a long time to even get on like Instagram. But we got into the deep, deep central northern area of Washington over the weekend for the Aurora Borealis. And where we were, we found this very just off the grid camp. It was very dark. We saw the northern lights like I never expected. But then I pulled out my phone. I don't know what Apple magic is sitting in this camera, but the night vision could highlight the Aurora Borealis better than anything I'd ever seen. The photos came out stunning. Now, I mean, we were there, we could see it, but then what the iPhone was able to do just took it to like 11. It was absolutely incredibly intense and gorgeous. Just instantly made like new wallpapers for the rest of the year for my phone and for my computer and stuff like that.
You sent us the images on Slack to me and Lily, our producer. And I was just like, what is this? I'm like, wow, that is amazing. I do love my iPhone. This is like completely different rant because my phone was the most advanced iPhone in my squad on Safari. Like I was taking all the pictures and it took some amazing photos. I was just kind of like, how am I getting this close to this animal and seeing the texture on their hoof? So I love the camera on my 15 Pro Max. The fact that it does spatial video, I think, is part of why this camera is so good.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and I think we're going to continue to see more of that, but just the way that it could bring out what people, and you could tell online people who had really good night vision on their phones and those who didn't, because like those photos just popped a little bit more. But yeah, it was a great experience. We were out there for a couple of days. I've never done anything quite like that. I mean, I grew up in Florida, so I didn't even think the Northern Lights were a real thing. That was, that was like, nah, that's not a thing.
Conspiracy. They don't exist.
But yeah, seeing it and being there was just unreal. So yeah, that was my weekend. It was great.
Amazing. I love it. So let's get to the news because I feel like there's so much we need to talk about. And it's obviously always artificial intelligence, right? AI.
Well, I watched the full announcement of what we're about to talk about. I will make a strong argument that it's more than AI.
It's computer vision.
It is full on computer vision. It is spatial computing. Yes, it is full on
spatial computing. Yes. That's why, once again, spatialcomputingbook.com. So for everyone that's listening, we're recording on Monday. OpenAI just had their spring update. They're kind of meeting with developers to talk about what's coming. Huge, huge announcements, huge demos done of what's coming. So Lee, maybe you can fill people in with like some of the top things that they announced.
Well, yeah. So the first thing to get out of the way here is everything they announced today is going to be applied to their free tier, not their paid tier. And as someone who spent the last 6, 7, 8 months, maybe a year, I don't know, I'd have to go back on their paid tier. And I've fought with it. I've been bullish. I've been bearish. I go back and forth. Seeing what they're about to add to the free tier, I don't know what the paid tier would even include. And they hinted at that towards the end. They said, this is only for the free tier. We'll talk about the paid tier later and what's the next big thing for that. So I'm sitting here going, my mind, my imagination cannot come up with what you could possibly offer on a paid tier looking at what came in the free tier. Because the free tier was basically ChatGPT 4.0, which means that they're going to be updating ChatGPT 4. That's important because they hadn't done that since.
It's called GPT 4.0.
4.0, yeah.
4.0, yeah. No dots, but yes.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Well,
Fine.
that's what it's called.
Fine.
That's what it's called.
But that does hint to this is more than ChatGPT 4, which is what the paid tier has been. It blows away 3.5, and it has full-on computer vision and a desktop app. This is huge because previous, if you wanted to access ChatGPT and you were on your computer, you could only do that through your browser, which has significant limitations. And so I'll start at the beginning. The voice is so good. Like Siri who? I know Apple's got announcements coming, Google's got announcements coming, but they're going to have to come with it because the ChatGPT 4.0 voice just kicks Siri in the teeth. It is so realistic and so dynamic and emotion driven. And you can actually improve its inflection. You can tell it you want it to be more dramatic. You want it to be a sing-song. You want the voice to be whatever you want. It will then adjust to that and do it. Cool. That's cool. That's actually something that really excites me. I think would excite anybody who's a writer because you can now have it read back what you've written and hear the inflection of the voices that you've written. The app can, if you allow it, and that needs to be specified, it can see your screen. And you can, just like you can, like if you're on a Zoom call and you're wanting to share a screen image with people, you can show, okay, look at this tab. Tell me what you see. It can adjust and adjudicate what is on the screen. So they used it as this very complex line graph, and it could break down the specifics of the data that it was seeing on the screen. It could break down code for like developers and say, okay, this is what I'm looking at in your code. Here's what I think is correct. Here's what's breaking apart. It's mind-blowing. As a developer, to have a tool like this, just to have that constant AI on your shoulder to be able to look, break down, and help you edit and refine your code, insane. It's just going to be huge. I would be very, very interested to see what the desktop app would do when looking at a gaming engine.
Oh, now that's interesting.
That was what was in the back of my head. Because the app, when you are feeding it any type of like visual data, it can tell a room. It can tell what's in the room. It can tell the person. It can tell the emotion on your face. So it can tell if you're frustrated with something or if you're happy. Like it really can see your space. So when you give it a 3-dimensional game engine, can it see within that space in relevant spatial view?
Yeah, the spatial capabilities and the spatial view. Well, I don't see why it wouldn't, right?
I don't either. These are all the things in the back of my head that I'm like very excited to experiment with. You know me, I try to bend things and break things and see how far I can push it. So I've got questions, but the demo was fantastic. They did a really impressive voice translation. So they said, I'm going to speak English. This other person will only speak Italian. When you hear me speak English, convert it to Italian and vice versa. And it did great. It was a complete babblefish. It just did that instantaneous translation. I've been hoping, I wanted to see this, and this goes back to like Google, and I know they got their announcements coming up. They got their I/O conference coming up. All of that's on the verge. But see, Google, when they first announced their earbuds, this was back in like 2017, I want to say, they told me their earbuds were going to be able to do this. And then they told me their assistant was going to be able to do this. They keep saying it's going to do this voice translation. You'll be able to use it. And it's never worked properly. This worked. And so I'm excited to see that.
I was really impressed with the demos, right? I actually thought about the Humane demo. Remember the Humane demo where they're speaking a different language? This one was just kicked it out of the water, right? Like, I was like, okay, this is amazing. This is where I start to think about what comes next, right? And it's that hardware. Like at the end of the day, and I always say this, in order to own all that data and all that information that is going to be going through that, in some ways, if you own the hardware, you own the data, right? In some ways, the software owns the data, but the hardware is going to keep a lot of it. So like, I'm not surprised that Johnny Ive and Sam Altman are working on hardware.
Sure.
It's done through software, right? But I think that the component here of actually having hardware that can see, I think is critical for that next stage of these large vision models, right? In spatial computing. So
to that point, they made a very cognizant effort to thank NVIDIA for GPU access for the demo today. Like they're admitting publicly, yes, a lot of this is due to the just sheer power that they're able to pull from their processing. So I still think all of this has to rely on the cloud for a while until things just become a little bit more synonymous with what we can do in the hardware. Now, I know. Apple had their announcement last week. They said that the M4 is the most AI-powered processor, blah, 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 blah. That's great. Show me.
Yeah.
Show me, Apple. You can say it all you want. Show me. Because all I saw was a thin iPad.
Well, isn't the M4 supposed to be single core processing?
I'll have to go back and look, but Apple's mysterious with their processors, right? Like now they're at the M4 and it's only in these iPads right now. And then they're going to figure out how to move it to the next thing. I don't know. As soon as it became their own silicon, everything kind of changed. And what that means for the long run, they're going to dominate that area. Look, I'm former Intel. I bleed blue. But at the end of the day, I think it was the right move for them. It made a lot of sense for what they did. They keep pushing this idea that this processor has something to do with AI. I just want to see it, like that's really what it boils down to. Like we knew what the R1 chip was doing when they announced it for the Apple Vision Pro. A chip you've never heard of. No one was expecting it. Okay, that's handling a lot of the actual spatial computing that's within the headset. They're offloading it. It's kind of functioning a little bit like a GPU. Now, to what extent, I don't know. It's kind of a black box. That's Apple for you. But we can kind of take some guesstimates of what this technology is doing. Right now, single core or not, I don't know. I would have to go look up that spec, but it almost doesn't really matter because Apple knows how to bend the silicon to do whatever it is they want to do. And so we'll see. But it is kind of surprising how they keep throwing those two letters into things, and I ain't seen it yet. So
I want to go back to NVIDIA because you mentioned OpenAI thinking NVIDIA, et cetera, all those sorts of things. Because I was having a conversation with my friend the other day. I said, like, end game here is large world model, right? Earth AI, right? End game is that. The reality is that that's where we're going, right? And he said, well, what is the role of NVIDIA? And I said, well, NVIDIA's in it. That's where they're going into robots. That's why they're announcing Earth AI. Like, they understand that, like, there's only so much data on the internet, right? So eventually you're going to need all this vision data, all this computer vision data, which is spatial computing, to be able to kind of train these newer large vision models and large world models eventually. So yeah, like I think that there's this really interesting moment where it's not just OpenAI, but it's like, what is NVIDIA doing with their chips? What's Apple doing with their R1s and M4s? What is Meta doing? Like I know Meta's working on chips as well, right? So like it's not only a rush for cloud because we need all the cloud capability, right? But there's also this other rush.
Well, it's clever what NVIDIA did that was so smart. And I do kind of reluctantly, I will say they probably learned this trick watching crypto like leverage.
well, leverage their graphics cards.
Yeah. What they realized is, okay, the processor in the computer is handling the operating system in your standard tasks. When you put a GPU into your computer, you're basically giving it another processor that can do more than just graphics, but it is there and specialized to handle like assuming 3-dimensional space. So now you've got basically a tack on extra processor that is only being tasked and taxed with whatever system you want it to do, as opposed to your processor in your computer has to be running the operating system. There is no computer if that processor is not handling the OS, and those OSs keep getting more and more bloated. Windows 11 is bloated. Even the latest like Mac OS updates, they're heavy. They have to be to continue to be impressive, to hold up weight, and to, if I'm being honest, to compete with mobile devices, right? You expect your desktop operating system to be better than your mobile OSs, and to be able to do that, it's got to be able to do more things. It needs that processor to do that. So instead of going into this like, oh, we're going to go compete with the OS processor, which is weird just saying that out loud because I never really thought about processors as like OS processors. NVIDIA was just like, no, it's just a tack-on processor. It can do graphics, but it can do just about anything else you throw at it. And allowing people to leverage that. That's huge.
Yeah, no, it's massive. So I do want to mention something about the OpenAI demo, which was that, the virtual assistant that they showed, like you mentioned, from voice, but the fact that it also has vision is huge. So to me, that virtual assistant that can use computer vision is spatial computing, which is pretty much computing that can see the world, that can process everything that it's seeing. So very excited about that. Sam Altman also wrote a blog post about GPT-4o, and there's a part that he mentions that I want to highlight. He said, the new voice and video mode is the best computer interface I've ever used. It feels like AI from the movies, and it's still a bit surprising to me that it's real. getting to human level response times and expressiveness turns out to be a big change. And then he talks about a whole bunch of things. But there's so much in that little paragraph of where they're heading with this. Once again, this is about computing that can understand the physical world, that can understand that layer of data, and then the physical world. So once again, spatial computing.
The thing that stood out to me in that statement was the response time, the human level's response time. That is accurate to the point where they were giving the demo and the GPT-4, you almost want to give it a persona, right? I almost said, and she, because it presented in a female voice.
Yeah, it was a female voice.
But no, it's just a dang computer. So GPT-4's response time was so fast that it was often cutting off the person speaking with it because it was just like it was having a conversation. That was one of the things that I picked up on is it would keep going as if it were completing different thoughts and part of the conversation. But because they were given a presentation, they were constantly having to stop it. That looks like a weird error on the demonstration point, but it's not. It's if you're using it as a user, that's exactly how you would expect it to function. I was shocked at the time. Now, I don't know what this possibly means for things like the R1 Rabbit. I don't know what this means for the Humane AI Pen. And if you go to ChatGPT 4, well, it'll be Wednesday, so I have no idea. But if you were to go look at ChatGPT right now, it's not currently available. I don't know when it becomes available to the free tier, but that announcement today was mind-blowing, absolutely shocking. The paid tier, I don't know what you could possibly offer. This thing's got to make me coffee or something because there's nothing left for it. I have no other expectations.
It's going to do the dishes.
I will say this. And maybe this is part of the tier. I saw no announcement about generating images or generating sound. I didn't see any of the
Sora. They didn't mention Sora.
They didn't mention Sora. They didn't mention DALL-E. They didn't mention any of that. This was strictly the communicative back and forth, generate processing files and things like that. More than 3.5 ever could ever dream to do. More than 4.0 does. But I have a feeling that if I had to guess, it's all that generative stuff is going to be what's rolled into their paid tier now that I'm thinking about it.
That makes sense. I also think they're prepping for a hardware play, whether it is going into Apple. Well, yeah, whether it is partnering with Apple or whether it's their own hardware or whatever it is. I think there's a big hardware play coming here.
Hold on. Let's tax that a little bit.
Let's unpack that. Yeah.
I can't see them going in partnership with Apple. I can't.
There was rumblings.
With as close as they are to Microsoft?
Wouldn't Microsoft still benefit?
It's not unheard of. I mean, you can get the Office suite on Apple. It's not like they've never shook hands, but it seems, I don't think Apple has it in their ego to not be front and center. And I don't think OpenAI has it in their ego to take the back seat and say, oh, yes, we're partnering with Apple. And now it's all just Apple-y Siri.
Well, there was rumblings. There were rumblings a couple weeks ago. I've
been wrong, but I can't see this. There's too much showmanship in this on both parties.
We'll have to see. I just know that someone's getting ready for a hardware play here.
Well, it's got to be, yeah. Apple's going to have, they're going to have to. They've already threw the gauntlet with the M4 like we were talking about. So I can see the hardware play coming with Apple. Google, I don't think is out of the running. I really don't.
I wouldn't discount them. You're right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gemini is very good. It's not what I saw today good, but if you would have asked me yesterday, I would have said Gemini's actually at the top of my list. So what I do know is I just don't think it's going to be in these tiny little gadgets that we keep seeing crop up. Not right now.
Oh, no, it's not going to be. I mean, as much as I like the Rabbit R1, I like the Humane people. I really do. I want to see them succeed. But no, we're talking about big hardware plays, big hardware plays for sure. That's why, I'm getting excited for all the AI-driven hardware. This is why I say AI vision-enabled hardware that's coming, massive. That kind of leads us to our second story. Do you want to jump on it?
I'll get to Apple Vision Pro. I just want to touch on this because you went on Safari right when I did this. I want to talk about Udio a little bit because I got you good.
Oh, you almost killed me, Lee Kebler. You almost killed. Tell folks what you did to me. You were so mean. Oh my gosh.
So those who don't know, Udio is a music AI generative platform. It's very impressive. It's incredibly impressive for what it is. And one of the things that stands out on it is you are able to actually feed it your own lyrics. So it can generate lyrics. And I'll be honest, they're about as stupid as they get. But if you write your own lyrics into it and you know how to query the generative system, you can make very convincing music. And I have a strong history as a music writer and a songwriter. So I wrote the most horrific pop jingle for this show that you could ever imagine. It will never air. It's
Please
already,
never
it's
show
gone.
it.
It's gone.
No.
But I sent it to Cathy and I was like, hey, I see this is our new jingle. I don't know if we should play this. And I have never gotten a response and a call from you so quickly. But that just goes to show you how very good Udio is.
I was literally upset. And like I don't get upset. I was shopping with my parents. You send me that. I'm listening to it in my ear and I'm like, no, I'm sorry. This will ruin the podcast. I left my parents. I was like, just pay for this. And I went and sat down and called you. I was so upset and I was freaking out. And I was like, we cannot let this, no, this cannot happen to the podcast.
But it sounded legitimate, did it not?
It sounded legit. And then you're like, ha ha. I was so mad. I was so livid. But then I was like, okay, it was a joke.
It's just a prank. It was just a prank.
You killed me, Lee Kebler. That was like, I still like my, yeah.
It was so good. It was so bad, but it was so convincing. The voice was so good. Anyways, I just wanted to get that out of the way because I hadn't talked to you about that.
Please let's not include the audio for that fake jingle because, it was so bad, y'all. Like,
if you haven't played with Udio, though, it's something worth checking out. It really is quite fun. I've lost hours playing with this stupid thing. udio.com. Fantastic little generative music AI. I see it as a way to create pitches for songs that I'm writing that I wouldn't normally be able to pitch because I can now do things for just about any genre, even if I don't have the means to do it in my own home studio or have to go to a studio to record it. So I think that there are definitely values to it. I am not on this bandwagon that it's going to ruin the music industry. I just don't believe that. But if you are musically inclined, go play with it. It's cool.
Yeah. Don't scare your friends. Don't scare your podcast hosts with it.
Oh, yes, absolutely do that.
100%. On that note, we're going to go on break. We're going to go on break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about Apple Vision Pro going global and then a few other things. So let's go on break.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them? That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
All right. Now that I'm no longer mad at you for scaring me with that jingle,
I'm just glad I made it through the break and I got to stay.
I know. I was going to kick you out. I was like, you're done, Lee. You're done. No, but I want to talk about Apple Vision Pro. The news that came out today on the 13th that they are prepping, obviously, to go global and start sales elsewhere. Because as much as people are writing about, oh, they didn't sell enough or they're cutting back or blah, 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 like this is still a product they're still going to try to sell. They're still going to push it out there. They're heading into spatial computing, whether people like it or not, or whether they're like gung-ho about it or not. That's where they're heading. So
I think they have to do it whether they like to or not. I think that's just where computing is. And I've wondered that if this is kind of pulling the horse across the finish line a little bit, because it did take a long time for like the AVP to come out. Even in rumors of where an AVP 2 could come in, Apple Vision Pro 2 could still be like 2026. It took them a long time to just get to today where they're saying, okay, we're going to finally start going international. So they've been very conservative, in my view, with a bolstering technology that does have a lot of excitement behind it. I've just not seen Apple be this conservative with a flagship before. It's been interesting. But I think they have to do it. Yeah.
They have to do it. But I think the approach has been slow, very, very tamed in some ways. But we'll see. I mean, they're going to go global. Let's see what happens with sales elsewhere. I mean, China's a really interesting market. We'll see what happens there. There was also, it says Apple Vision Pro 2 rumored to start at $1,500 with Samsung and Chinese display supplier Sia possibly entering the supply chain to lower costs. So, we can neither confirm nor deny this one, but I think that the fact that there's already conversations about who might be supplying the display technology for an Apple Vision Pro 2 and at a lower price. I mean, once again, what I tell anyone here, it's early. Don't discount this. Like, just don't think because you think this is a failed product, doesn't people think that? Obviously I don't. This is a first version. This is really a developer's kit, if we're being 100% honest, right?
Yeah. And it's got a lot of missing bells and whistles. It really does. I think the price will come down. I think we'll see a sub 2,000 soon. And that, according to rumors, which is about worth what you invest in it, I hear 2026. That seems like too far away, if I'm being completely honest.
They'll move faster than that. 2026 is too far away.
That feels like one of those impossible dates. But it is interesting to see them move to hearing rumors of a different display and to actually hear of company names that are getting batted around, whether true or not. One of the things that stood out to me on the iPad announcements from last week is they kept referring to the iPad as Apple's most impressive display ever. And I'm sitting here going, what about the Apple Vision Pro? Because that seems like a way more impressive display, in my opinion. So those are those little like twingy words you have to kind of parse there to see where things are going. I don't know.
Well, here's what I hear when I hear that, right? Is like, are they eventually, because display technology, are they going to move away from pass-through to see-through? Because eventually the holy grail is see-through, not pass-through.
Right. It would still be a display. I guess you'd have to define what impressive means, right? I don't see that happening soon enough. I'm surprised we're not there in 2024. Like, I honestly thought we would be there by today. And some people have attempted, especially with like where the HoloLens was in 2018, 2019. Like the HoloLens existed. We just never saw the exponential rate of return on that technology like I was expecting to see it over the course of 5 years. So it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah. I just, once you go from pass-through to see-through, I don't know if the word display is the right word for that.
People who do like the Apple Vision Pro, though, what they hearken to as magical is the crown, that ability to go in and out of reality. And I think that crown is being positioned as a real marketing tool, just like what they did on the watch. Like I just don't see them getting rid of that. I think that there's too much value in that.
Yeah, and I guess you can't really achieve that with see-through as well.
Right.
I mean, that's like a sci-fi dream, right, to achieve.
Well, so I've seen a couple of these glasses that do this, like InReal has a really clever solution for that. And you actually put blinders on the glasses. Then it turns into basically like a spatial computing, full immersion VR headset. And that works pretty well. It was pretty convincing. So it could go in that direction where you just put something on the front of the headset and then it does that, because it's effectively all you have to do is that. but I think we're ages away from like, what I would love to see is one of those integrations with like, security glass that goes in and out. Just that would be cool.
That would be cool.
But I just don't think we're going to see that in the next 10 years. I've been wrong before. We'll see.
We'll see something in the next 10 years. I wouldn't say we won't see. We'll definitely see things. Interesting. I think we're getting a little too nerdy here with pass-through and see-through. And people are like, what are they talking about? Yeah, we're really getting into the XR.
This is what we talk about. This is just
This is our friendship here. This is our friendship. Like, have you thought about see-through and pass-through, Kebler? Oh my gosh.
Have I?
Have you? Of course you have. All right. So Vision Pro is going global. There's rumors about Vision Pro 2 and who some of the display partners might be. Obviously, lots of rumbling around, possible new announcements that are coming. Trying to think what else is happening there. I mean, once again, spatial computing is not going anywhere. I don't care what people say. They just don't understand that this is where computing is heading.
Well, and to that point, there's articles that are coming out, and I have a lot to say about this. I'm sure you will too, that in the same breath of all of this stuff that's coming out, Facebook has lost, this is the number that is getting batted around, $1 billion every month on VR since June of 2022. That's a lot of bees. Like, that just seems really high. But since June 2022, it all adds up to what they're saying is a loss. I'll argue that it's not a loss. It's an investment of $45 billion trying to make VR a thing. I will also argue it is a thing. It's just maybe not your thing yet. I get really exhausted by these, but they give good data, right? You can see the investment in it. $3 billion in the last financial quarter. $45 billion since June 2022. We're in May now, so that's like next month. That's a lot. That's a lot of money to be investing. I definitely don't think they've seen the return. They have it. That's the thing.
So like,
right?
This is the thing that bothers me. It's like, if it's a company that doesn't have it, then be upset. But this is their R&D budget. Like, this is where they're putting their R&D money and AI and in this, and they have the cash. If someone has the cash, it's Meta. So
if this were like Twitter X, like dropping this type of money into VR, I would be right there with you.
Very concerned.
Y'all just like setting money on fire. Like, okay, fine. That's money you don't have. But Meta's got it. What would they use? Because like Instagram's doing fine. Facebook's going to be Facebook.
WhatsApp is like insane.
Yeah, you've got all that. So, okay, you're going to be investing in AI. They told us all of this. They're investing in AI. They're making that investment. They're investing in computer vision. They're making that investment. And they're investing in VR, which they've been doing since basically the birth of VR. And so, this is their business model. I get this. And I think the return is this operating system that they're going to be putting out there. They're in direct competition with the Apple Vision Pro. I think they stand to be hardcore competition for Apple. I think Meta has the ability in spatial computing to compete with Apple in a way that Microsoft does not compete with Apple in the desktop realm. I just don't think Apple is fully, maybe someone in there is seeing that full picture, but they've got such a head start and such a good understanding of this space, and they have the cash. Apple has the cash too, but they do not have a good history in the gaming industry. They just don't.
I have to admit that. That's true. You're right. I mean, they're pushing though. I feel like every time they have an announcement, it's like, oh, gaming in Mac. But it's like,
But this is what's crazy. Meta has proven to be able to handle the gaming industry when it comes to spatial computing VR headsets. 100%. They've been able to do it. And this is what's weird. They can't crack social media inside of a VR headset. They've struggled with that since day one. They're on their third, fourth, maybe fifth iteration of trying to create.
What's it called now? Horizon?
Now it's Horizon OS, and it will be, maybe it's going to be baked in the OS. I don't know. It's always been a struggle bus when it comes to that. Whereas like Apple has always wanted to be in gaming, and every time they try to do it, they just kind of don't. Even Apple Arcade is unimpressive. I get the announcement. You're just not there. And all along, you've got Microsoft in the background going, yeah, we're doing gaming. It's fine. They just own it. Like, they just have it figured out. They got the legacy.
I mean, they've got it, right? Yeah. They're like, we're staying. Well, 1 in 3 people, I always go back to this. 1 in 3 people in the world is a gamer or qualifies themselves as a gamer. New York Times is now a gaming company. Like,
totally.
Netflix is in the gaming space.
Yep.
Disney's investing. Like gaming is a huge part of the future, a huge part of why people would do spatial computing.
it's a huge part of the economy in the future. I think that that's the biggest thing. We've talked about it in the past. We're not going to get too far into it, but like Walmart's proving that with Roblox. E-commerce is coming, like real, tangible, real world, go into a virtual game, get real things delivered to your door is the future. If you're laughing at that thought, you probably thought Amazon would never sell you more than books. Like, this is where it's going. You can shut up and listen, or you can miss the boat, but that's where it'll head. It's just the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, 100%. So, all right. On that note, anything else we need to talk about before we go to Dispatch from the Fringe?
Well, okay. So the last little bit, speaking of gaming, Niantic, who did Pokemon Go, has announced a little mixed reality pet for the Meta headset. Now, this will not be the first pet. There was like this tech demo that came with the Quest 2 that was called BOGO or something like that. It was adorable.
It was super cute. Yeah.
It was super cute. And then a couple of months ago, they said, we're going to retire BOGO, and BOGO's gone. BOGO went bye-bye.
Bye-bye, BOGO.
And I kind of wonder if it's not for this partnership with Niantic to have this new like mixed reality charged pet. I have not seen it. Well, I saw a still image. It looks cute. It's kind of this alien looking thing. I'm not going to say more than that until I actually get to play with it a little bit. But I like when things like this happen. It'll be interesting to see what Niantic has up their sleeve.
Yeah, we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what happens. So a few things before we go to Dispatch from the Fringe that I wanted to share. So I'm going to be in Boston next week for Future Compute. MIT has invited me to keynote Future Compute, which is right before MTech Digital, their big conference. I'll be talking about whether spatial computing is transitional or transformational. Obviously, anyone that listens to this podcast knows where I stand on that. So going to be doing that over in Boston. Very excited about being at MIT's Future Compute event. We'll include a link in the show notes. And I'll also be stopping by a couple of companies in Boston that are doing really interesting things, including my friends at Neurable, which is a brain-computer interface company. They just raised, I think, $15 million. So congratulations to Ramses and the team at Neurable for that. So yeah, excited. I'll be in Boston. So if any of our listeners are there, let me know. Let me know if you're in town. So yeah, let's go to Dispatch from the Fringe with Lily. Lily, take it away.
Hello, Cathy and Lee. Welcome to this week's Dispatch from the Fringe. I hope you enjoyed your safari, Cathy. And in the spirit of animals, I have another animal story for you today. So the other week, we talked about how scientists are using machine learning to understand spider communication with the tapping of their legs. And today I have a story about how scientists and researchers are using machine learning and artificial intelligence to understand whales, specifically sperm whales. So this organization is Project CT. It's a nonprofit focused on using AI to understand whales that could hopefully lead researchers to understanding the meaning of whale sounds. Researchers used to think that whale sounds were more like Egyptian hieroglyphics, but in reality, each sound is more like an individual letter. I thought it was interesting that the researchers used statistics to analyze much of the data, but they used machine learning to find patterns within the data set. And that is this week's Dispatch from the Fringe.
All right, that was interesting. I'm a little disconnected from everything that's happening, but I mean, I'm glad Lily's always on top of finding some fun Dispatch from the Fringe news.
It'll just be interesting to see like where a lot of these stories end up. Like, I want to do an episode on that after we've done a full year of like, okay, we're going to take the first 5 dispatches and see where they ended because they're so strange, and just kind of do a year-end review to see how far any of these companies actually make it.
Did they make it or no?
Yes.
Where are they now? Tech Magic Edition.
That's it.
That's it. So, all right, amazing. Well, Lee, thanks for joining me this week.
Every time. Thanks to the listeners. We love to hear from you. I get people who reach out on LinkedIn all the time. Don't stop. Continue. We like the attention. It feeds my ego. So yes, please reach out.
You're so ego-driven. Oh my gosh.
Yes, that's me. I'm all ego.
Yeah. By the way, we love everyone that's listening to us, the US, the UK, all across the world. I know we got people from Colombia and Costa Rica and Germany and Saudi Arabia and Australia and a whole bunch of places that are listening to podcasts. We're thrilled you're listening to us. It's our pleasure to kind of come and and share with you what's happening in the tech space. So thanks for tuning in this week for Tech Magic. Come for the tech, stay for the magic. We'll be back next week. Thank you.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bullspend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Yetis, this is Nick and Jack from the Best One Yet podcast. Now, the last company we worked at, they used Paylocity and everything just worked. It wasn't until launching our own media business, this show, that we realized how rare that is.
Because Paylocity is one delicious burrito of operational needs. They roll up HR, finance, and IT seamlessly into one delicious bite.
When everything wraps together like that all at once, your workforce, your tech stack, your business, you don't need more tools. You don't even need cilantro.
You need one solution.
And that is why Paylocity built a single platform to connect HR, finance, and IT with AI-driven insights and automated workflows that simplify the complex and power what's next.
Or as we call it, a delicious operational burrito.
Yes, we do. Experience a one place for all your HCM needs, besties.
So start now at Paylocity.com/one.
Paylocity.com/ONE.
Business is booming, but you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.